Vishunudeve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivajari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. So we are going to speak a few words about Chaturmas. So as we know that belonging to the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, that we are supposed to follow Chaturmas, the rules and regulations of Chaturmas, the 4 months which are there during the rainy season. And so at that time, it is recommended that one does some austerity. And also that one will increase one's spiritual activities. And then of course it means we decrease the material necessities of the body. And so the Chaturmas is not followed only in our Sampradaya, but actually in all the Sampradayas. And as we know, there are 4 Sampradayas, Vaishnava Sampradayas. So we belong to the one which is coming after Krishna. Krishna is the Adi Guru. And so first he instructed Lord Brahma, and he in turn instructed his sons and the 4 Kumaras, and especially, specifically in our Sampradaya, and Narada Muni, also his son, and then Narada Muni in turn instructed Srila Vyasadeva, the literary incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he instructed his disciples, and then Madhvacharya is most prominent in our Sampradaya. And he in turn instructed his disciples, and in this Sampradaya Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, and he gave some guidelines of course, and he established the Yuga Dharma, the chanting of the holy names. And he also instructed us how to actually chant the holy names, in which bhav. And specifically he gave instructions to the Goswamis, 6 Goswamis, to come to Braj and to excavate the lost holy places and to write transcendental literatures for the benefit of the fallen conditioned souls. And so foremost amongst them, of course, Rupa Goswami is there, and we are known as Rupanuga Vaishnavas, following him in order to make advancement in spiritual life and perfect our spiritual life. And then his elder brother, Sanat Goswami, so he was instructed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Varanasi, Benares, Kashi. And for 2 months, Sanatana Goswami was there, and he got instructions from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And based on these instructions, he compiled various literatures, and specifically Hari Bhakti Vilas, and which he has also described about the Chaturmas. And then this knowledge has been handed down afterwards, again in the disciplic succession, from the 6 Goswamis, Raghunath Das Goswami, Jeev Goswami, Gopal Bhatt Goswami, and Raghunath Bhatt Goswami. So we belong to this Sampradaya, and then we have the Sampradaya, the Sri Sampradaya, and there we have the expansion of the Supreme Lord, Krishna, Vishnu, Narayan, and his eternal consort, Lakshmi Devi. So she gave some transcendental instructions to some great personalities, and there the famous Acharya is Ramanujacharya of the Sri Sampradaya, and they are also very particular in worshipping the Lord, and the Archavigraha, and they are strictly also following the rules and regulations also pertaining to Chaturmas. And then we have the Sampradaya from the 4 Kumaras. They were instructed, besides Lord Brahma, by the Hansavatar, the Swan incarnation. And so they gave this transcendental knowledge to their disciples, and the Acharya there is Nimbarka Acharya, and they are also following the Chaturmas, the rules and regulations of Chaturmas. And the fourth Sampradaya, that is coming from Lord Shiva, who was personally instructed by Krishna, and then he gave to his disciples, and the foremost there is Vishnu Swami. They're not so prominent here anymore, but some of the Vaishnavas are there of the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, and they're also following the Chaturmas. Besides that, even the Smarta Brahmanas, who may not be in the Sampradaya as the fourth Sampradaya mentioned, but they are following the tradition of the Vedic literatures from their parents, or they may have Kul Guru, the family priest, and there they are also following actually strictly the Chaturmas. And besides that, also we may have the Brijbasis. They may be from the Smarta family or from some families which may not be, they may be Vaishnavas also, but they may not be in every of the Sampradaya, but they will also follow Chaturmas. So it is common practice amongst all those who are following the Vedic literatures, even the Mayavadis, they are following the principles, the rules and regulations of Chaturmas. Even the Mayavadis. The most prominent, as we know, being Sripad Shankaracharya, who is an expansion, as we know, of Lord Shiva himself, and being instructed by Krishna himself to give some teachings to the common man according to time, place and circumstances. So all those who are abiding by the Vedic literatures, who are accepting the Vedic literatures, and who are accepting the absolute truth, even they may be impersonalists, but in order to make advancement in spiritual life, so austerity has to be performed. And so therefore, the 4 months of Chaturmas, that is the time when all the followers of the various Vaishnava Sampradayas and even all those others belonging to the Mayavad Sampradaya, there may be also many, or even the yogis doing Ashtanga Yoga or Hatha Yoga, they are by nature already following very strict rules and regulations in order to uplift themselves to the transcendental platform. So for that purpose, especially during Chaturmas, so they will follow the rules and regulations of Chaturmas. And so it is the rainy season. At that time it is difficult to travel actually. So therefore they decide, they choose that time by the Lord's arrangement also. Ultimately we may see, they choose that time to follow the Chaturmas because they cannot travel, so therefore they stay in one place. Of course nowadays it is easier to travel, but previously it was more difficult. In the term, for example, that now we have cars and we have trains, we have airplanes, and so it is a little easier to move even during the rain. But at previous times they were walking or going by bullock carts, so it was a little difficult to move along and then perform one sadhana. So they decided to stay in one place and perform the Chaturmas, and for spiritual uplifting, and also because as the preachers they are moving all around, at other times then they are meeting many persons who may not be so much interested, but who are also trying to make advancement in spiritual life. So they will give the sadhus who are preaching, they will give their association, their instructions. But then it may be that in due course of time, living also with materialistic person, that some contamination may be there in one's consciousness. So for that purpose they were also going to the holy place in order to become free from the unwanted contamination which may be there in associating with materialistic persons. Because when we are preaching, then we have to mix with materialistic persons, and even though we try to be careful, so but it may be there that some contamination will be there. So therefore they were coming together in one holy place, the sadhus, and perform the austerities which are there during Chaturmas, and discuss about the absolute truth during the Chaturmas, and not meeting too much with ordinary persons. So there was a system, and still some Vaishnavas of the various sampradayas, even amongst the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they will try to stay in one place for 4 months. And then they perform some austerity and they are more absorbed in the study and the bhajan. So then after 4 months they will be ready again to preach and to meet the common man and to give them some transcendental instructions. So now the various sampradayas, they may have some different rules and regulations which they may follow. And even amongst our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, so many branches are there, so they may have some different rules and regulations which they follow. So, but we as members of the ISKCON Society, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, of course we try to follow Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who has established our society, and then we may also try to follow his spiritual master Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Prabhupada, who followed as much as possible also the instructions of Srila Sanatana Goswami, which he got from, then of course, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. So Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, so he gave a few instructions to be followed during Chaturmas, and of course we have to understand that when he went to the West, preaching Krishna consciousness, most of the persons, they were having no interest in spiritual life or little interest or understanding in spiritual life, and they were addicted to so many habits which are very detrimental for spiritual life. So first of all, he had to tell them not to eat meat, not to smoke, not to drink, not to engage in illicit sex, and therefore it is quite understandable that he only gave a very few instructions regarding Chaturmas, which we try to follow, which we should follow, which we have to follow. And but those who are already many years in the society, and especially those who are living in India, and they may have some contact with other Vaishnavas from other sampradayas or with even our sampradaya, especially Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Prabhupada, so they know and they will see that some other rules may be there to be followed during Chaturmas. So, but basically being part of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, we want to tell what Prabhupada told us to do during Chaturmas. So in the first month, he was explaining so that we should not take any spinach or any leafy vegetables, which is not difficult to follow, which anyone can follow. And so, as we know the Chaturmas, so we said we'll start from Guru Purnima, Vyas Purnima, which for us is day after tomorrow. But that is actually the last day, the Purnima Tithi, the full moon, is the last day of the present month in which we are situated, known also as Ashar Mas. And and that is the appearance day of Srila Vyasadeva. And all the acharyas, so actually they were worshipping Vyasadeva on this day. Even up to this day, all the sampradayas, they will offer respect to Srila Vyasadeva, and even the Mayavadis, because he has given the Vedic literatures. So, and then they will observe the celebration of worshipping the spiritual master on that day. And then specifically then also of course Vyasadeva, but all the acharyas in the sampradaya are respected on that day. And and then at this day the sankalpa may be taken, the declaration that, or the vow that I will do this Chaturmas and I will follow this and this regulation. So on that day it may be taken the vow, and then I will start actually from tomorrow. Because then the day after Purnima, that is actually the first day of the first month of Chaturmas. So therefore we may see that the Vaishnavas, they will, on the Purnima Tithi, which is Vyas Purnima, they may take everything what is there, usually in their diet, but then the next day they will follow, and they will not take any spinach till the last day of that particular month, which is known as Shravan Mas. and that is actually the appearance day of Balaram Prabhu, Baladev, the Supreme Personality of God, and the elder brother of Sri Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So on the last day, usually the fast is broken at noon time of not taking any spinach. And then the next day, that will be the Bhadramas, in which month we know Krishna, on the Ashtami Tithi, Krishna appeared in the Shukla Paksha. The first part of the month is known as Shukla Paksha. That is the next day after the full moon, till Amavasya, till the new moon. That is known as the Krishna Paksha, excuse me. And on the Ashtami Tithi, the 8th lunar day, Krishna appeared during the stellar constellation of the Rohini Nakshatra. And then after that, after Amavasya, then the Shukla Paksha is coming, Pratipad Tithi, and then on the 8th day of that fortnight, bright fortnight, Srimati Radharani appeared. So that is Bhadra Mas. So during that month, we are not taking any yogurt, any dahi for that 1 month. So again there, so we do the fasting till the Purnima Tithi, and then so the Purnima Tithi, then that noon time, so it may be broken, and then the next day, the 3rd month is starting. That is known as Ashwin Mas, and that is also followed. That during that time, the first two weeks of the next month, Ashwin Mas, so we not taking any milk for the whole month, but for 2 weeks is also known as Shraddha Paksha in India, where all the followers of the Vedic literatures, the Brahmanas or even Vaishnavas, they may offer respect to the forefathers by doing some offering to the forefathers, but first offering to Krishna, according to the day which they left, the tithi they left. So the minimum is not to take any milk during the 3rd month. In the 4th month, so which is known as Kartik Mas, so but it is, so Purnima Tithi is known as, of this Ashwin Mas, that is known as Sharad Purnima. Again, we have to say that it is not the first day of Kartik, it is the last day of Ashwin Mas, but that day is known as Sharad Purnima. And so that is a Vrat, part of the Chaturmas Vrat, but then we have an additional observances there, and that of the Kartik Vrat, and then we have some additional things to follow, which Prabhupada has explained, and even the previous acharyas. But the fasting will be there on the next day of Purnima, that is on the Pratipad Tithi, Uradal fasting of the month of Kartik for 1 month, till the last day, that is, as we know, the Purnima Tithi again, which is known also as Ras Purnima, of the Kartik Mas. There are 2 Ras, where Krishna performed Ras Leela. And so the first day, the Maharas is there, Sharad Purnima, which is the last day of the Ashwin Mas. And on that day, usually, so we also take the declaration, or the Sankalpa, the vow, that we will do this and this austerity during this month. But being a very auspicious day, Purnima Tithi, our Krishna performed the Ras Leela, so that night already we are offering a ghee lamp to Damodar, Yashoda Damodar, or Radha Damodar, which is part of the Vrat of Kartik Vrat, also known as Urja Vrat or Niyam Seva. Every day we are doing that Seva of offering a ghee lamp in the evening to Damodar. So part of the Kartik Vrat, which is part of the Chaturmas Vrat also. An additional vow is taken on this day. So that is just the minimum. Of course, then we chant the Damodar Ashtakam by one great Muni, Satyavat Muni. So he has composed the Damodar Ashtakam, 8 prayers glorifying Krishna, who is known as Damodar, the son, the darling son of Mother Yashoda, although he is the Supreme Lord, but he appeared as a son. of Mother Yashoda. And so he's worshipped in this month as child Krishna, Damodar, who was bound up by Mother Yashoda with some rope. Damodar. Damo, so to bind, Udar, the belly. So therefore the name came Damodar. So she was able to bind Krishna because of her love towards Krishna. Because of her love for Krishna, she was able to bind Krishna. But of course, the endeavor was there, and she was endeavoring very strenuously. And Krishna first, he didn't allow himself to be bound. But then seeing her endeavor, and just to teach us also, that in order to be able to bind Krishna, to capture Krishna in our heart, to become pure, so we have to endeavor. And then, that is not sufficient actually, but then we need the mercy of the Lord. So therefore it is mentioned that when she was trying to bind Krishna, it was the rope was short by 2 fingers. She got some more rope, but still it was short 2 fingers. And then, but ultimately, so when she almost became helpless, she was sweating, almost started to cry out of desperation, not being able to bind Krishna. Then Krishna, so he let himself be bound up by Mother Yashoda. So the endeavor has to be there, and then we get the mercy. So that we may also see in this endeavor of Chaturmas. So we have to make a special endeavor, because as devotees we know that we have to perform some austerity, we have to be engaged in spiritual activities. But as the days and the nights go by, and as we know that familiarity breeds contempt, and we are used to getting prasadam every day, and then we may become attached to following our duties and taking prasadam every day, and having our space and our activities. So therefore it is recommended, highly recommended, that during Chaturmas we do some austerity. So that is the minimum, these 4 which Prabhupada told, and of course it has some scientific value also there, definitely for the health of the body, and some other benefits so maybe there, but the main thing is that we have to do some austerity for the pleasure of the Lord, some extra endeavor, so we can become free from sense gratification, from the propensity to enjoy, even as a devotee. Of course, by giving pleasure to Krishna, the ultimate enjoyment is there. But sometimes Krishna is not completely in the center, and then even taking prasadam may be a kind of sense gratification. So therefore, many devotees, they're not only doing the minimum, but they try to do more. And for example, some, and even as the acharyas have explained, so some they will, for example, not take any sweets, not take any sugar for 4 months, as an austerity, to give something which is dear to us, to do some special austerity for the pleasure of the Lord. So some they will maybe, for example, they will not take any, they will only eat maybe 1 time a day, during noontime, or maybe some only in the evening, or some they will take only 1 time grain, and in morning, evening, maybe some fruit. So different austerities. Some they may even not take any grains for 4 months. So Prabhupada, of course, he was not giving any emphasis on these activities, because being in the beginning of the movement, so he had to tell them to give up some activities already, which was enough, definitely. But in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, in our Sampradaya, the previous Acharyas, so they did more austerities during Chaturmas. And so they followed the rule of staying one place and doing more devotional activities and trying to give up the bodily necessities. So we have to be practical and see time, place and circumstances. If we are living in a holy place, then it may be easier to do more austerity. But then also an important point is that we should never neglect our service given by the spiritual master. So most important is to increase our spiritual activities, the chanting, and then the worship of the Lord, the service towards the Lord, whatever given by the spiritual master, the austerities, then which we may do So the seva has to be there, but then austerities we may do if possible. But one very important thing which we may do, and so this is, for example, because being conditioned, the conditioned soul has the tendency to sometimes talk things which are unnecessary, known as prajalpa. So a good thing to do would be to give up unnecessary talk for 4 months. And then we'll have more time to chant more, to read more, to serve Krishna more. And then we may be able to give up also more easily by having a higher taste, spiritual taste. Then it may be easily done to give up some other things, bodily necessities, besides the minimum of, for example, not taking any spinach or yogurt. So, because actually we want to make more and more advancement and quickly. So Prabhupada was also suggesting that we should try to become perfect in this one lifetime. So therefore it is even mentioned in the scriptures by performing these different vrats, like even Chaturmas. And for example, it is mentioned if one is not for 4 months taking any milk products, not only for 2 months, the second and third, no yogurt or no milk, but if for 4 months one is not taking any milk products, no milk, no yogurt, no any cream, no any cheese or paneer, even some they will not take any ghee. So for 4 months if one is doing that, so the falsehood is there, then one may go back home to Godhead. So therefore some devotees are also doing this. So the different results are mentioned in scriptures by abstaining from one thing, that what will be the result. So therefore some devotees are interested in doing that, especially for getting some spiritual result in order to come closer to Krishna, which ultimately we want to do. We want to come closer to Krishna. We want to become perfect in spiritual life. But Prabhupada, so of course, he wanted to spread Krishna consciousness, and for that purpose, he wanted the devotees to work very hard in serving the deities in the temple, or distributing books, distributing prasadam. And so therefore the devotees, they were strictly also doing what Prabhupada told. And even sometimes some devotees, they were trying to follow Chaturmas, and then Prabhupada, he was not so much wanting them to follow, especially if they are not able to do seva. So if one was able to do, of course, his seva and then still do some austerity, then it is all right. And that was the mood of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Prabhupada also. He wanted the devotees to preach Krishna consciousness and not just following Chaturmas. But at the same time, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Prabhupada, he gave a little more rules and regulations to follow, because in India it is already by tradition that one will follow Chaturmas, and Prabhupada gave the minimum, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Prabhupada, he gave a little more, because most of the devotees, they were coming from a background where they are already worshipping God, following the Vedic literatures, so he had some more requirements for them to follow. And one of them was not to shave, actually. Traditionally before, in a Vedic culture, during the Chaturmas, for 4 months they were not shaving. The hair on the head, or even they were growing a beard. For 4 months they were not shaving. And even they were not cutting the nails. But then, and even it is said that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, following the principle of the sannyasi, following Chaturmas, he was not shaving for 4 months. But then, as we know, that when he was going to South India, and then he was in church for his brother, externally speaking, Vishwarup, who had taken sannyas, but actually he was going simply to distribute the holy names and deliver the fallen conditioned souls. But then he appeared in Pandharpur, a holy place in Maharashtra, and then he found out that his brother had left his body on this place. So then on the day when he was there, that was in the middle of the Chaturmas, in the second month, on the full moon day, night of this month, Bhadramas, So he performed a festival in remembrance of his brother, Vishwarup Mahotsav. And that is also the day when our spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada took sannyas from his godbrother Keshavji, Keshavji Maharaj, Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj in the Keshavji Gauriamati Matra. And also his sannyas guru also took actually sannyas on this day in Katwa, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas. So, and because Mahaprabhu on that day, when he was performing the Vishwarup Mahotsav, he shaved. So that means for 2 months he was not shaving, and then again he shaved, and again for 2 months he was not shaving. So therefore, most of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Goswamis, specifically Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, so he was following the vrat of not shaving for 2 months, and then on Vishwarup Mahotsav, shaving, and again for 2 months not shaving. But some Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they are shaving once a month during Chaturmas and Purnima Tithi, because that is recommended for the sannyasis by Sanatana Goswami, that they should only shave once a month, that is on Purnima Tithi. So that is a kind of austerity also, and that is usually followed by those who are in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. But Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, when he came to the West, he saw that the hippies were there who were having long hair and a beard, and they were attached to the hair and the beard. So Prabhupada wanted them to shave every day or every second day, even during Chaturmas. And as explained before, so he didn't want to give too many rules and regulations, and so therefore he didn't tell them to shave only once a month. And he wanted them to be clean, and he felt for the preaching it is important. But also then there are some letters by Prabhupada, and he's mentioning there at least once a month on Purnima Tithi we should shave. So because it is there in the tradition of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So therefore many Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they will follow that. Most of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, except ISKCON, they will not shave for 2 months or 1 month, and some even for 4 months. But Prabhupada, so he wanted them to shave, wanted them to be free from this attachment to the hair. But otherwise it is also part of the Chaturmas Vrat not to shave. So therefore now even in ISKCON, some Vaishnavas, they follow this tradition, especially the months of Kartik, that they will not shave for 1 month. And similarly during the months of Purushottam, this vrat is also performed as in Chaturmas, so that they will follow some rules and regulations, and they will not take certain foodstuffs, and also they will not shave. So, but as explained, the most important thing is that we should try to increase our devotional activities. Therefore, the many devotees, they will chant more than 16 rounds during Chaturmas, and especially during the 4th month, the Kartik Mas or Purushottam Mas, they will chant more than 16 rounds. They will chant 20 or 24 or 32, or some even more than that. And as we know, Prabhupada in the beginning, he wanted the devotees to chant 64 rounds, but they couldn't. Then he said 32. And even they could not do that, and then he said 16, but not less. And whenever he conducted the initiation ceremony, he told the disciples, you should chant minimum 16. So minimum means minimum 16. It means we should chant more actually. Minimum is 16. So many, they are doing the Chaturmas, and then they will chant some extra rounds, and they will try to read more and devotional literatures, and in this way they will try to reduce the bodily needs, and for 4 months, or at least during the month of Kartik, which is the most important month and most dear to Krishna and to Srimati Radharani. So it is also known as Damodar Mas, so dedicated to Damodar, but Kartik Mas is also dedicated to Srimati Radharani, also known as Har month, because Radha Krishna, they are inseparable, and they are worshipped together actually, as we know, Radha Damodar, Radha Krishna. So it is also known as Urja Vrata. So that is the Vrat of Srimati Radharani, who is known as Urjeshwari. Urja means actually the Shakti, that is Srimati Radharani, Krishna Shakti. Urjeshwari, so she is the the eternal concepts of Krishna, the original Shakti of Krishna, and all the other Shaktis, and even Lakshmi Devi's Durga Devi, so they are expansions of Srimati Radharani. So it is also her month. It is Krishna month and Krishna's month and Srimati Radharani's month. So it is most auspicious month. So therefore during the month of Kartik, so the devotees are doing more, even more than the other 3 months. And so as explained, Damodar Maas is there, Damodar Ashtakam is chanted, and some they will chant some other Ashtakams glorifying Krishna, Srimati Radharani, or they may chant the Gopi Gita of the Bhagavatam, or the Venu Gita of the Srimad Bhagavatam from the 10th canto, where the gopis are expressing the sentiments towards Krishna, so which will help us to actually also imbibe these sentiments, and and to become absorbed in the higher platform of not just simply following the rules and regulations in spiritual life, which is known as Vaidhi Bhakti, Sadhana Bhakti, or even just simply following the rules and regulations of the Chaturmas, but it is even a higher principle to try to imbibe the mood of the spiritual master, and that is by preaching Krishna consciousness and practicing Krishna consciousness, but then on the higher level to come to the mood of adopting the internal mood of the spiritual master, and that is actually following the internal associates of Krishna. That is known also as Raganuga Bhakti. So one should try to enter in that realm which the spiritual master also wants to give. Srila Prabhupada also wanted to give the previous acharyas. And so Ragamag is known, it is known, following the eternal associates of Krishna who have deep love for Krishna, Rag, Anurag. So that is actually to be achieved, especially then also during the month of Chaturmas. We should try to come to the internal realization and the eternal platform of the Atma, of the soul, beyond this external platform of this body, a sadhaka, and come to the siddhavastha, as explained by Rupa Goswami, Seva sadhana rupena, siddha rupena chatrahi tabba vilupsana karya brajalokur sarataha. So sadhakas which follow our spiritual master, Srila Rupa Goswami, and then always try to then come to the goal of performing the service not just externally but internally, and remembering the loving exchange of especially Krishna with the gopis, but even with Mother Yashoda and the friends of Krishna. So that is known as Raganuga Bhakti. So ultimately Chaturmas is there to help us to become detached from material activities externally and even in consciousness, to become free from the enjoying spirit and to be surrendered to Krishna. And then in this way come to the internal aspect of this devotional service, which is Raganuga Bhakti. That is actually the ultimate purpose of following Chaturmas, not just simply the external following of the rules and regulations, abstaining from different activities or even different items and doing some austerities. But it is helpful because without becoming detached from material activities or material consciousness, enjoying spirit, we can never come to the internal aspect and surrender to Krishna and follow the footsteps of the eternal associates of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Rupa Goswami Pad ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Sri Gaunitaya ki jai. Sri Krishna Balaram ki jai. Sri Radha Shama Sundar ki jai. Hare Krishna.